Today we're going to be learning how to splice 3-strand line. We're going to do either like an eye splice, what you can call it, or if you're making up your dock lines and you want to have them spliced directly to the deck. So we're gonna go over how to do that today. A couple things you'll need is the 3-strand line. I have a heated line cutter here, helps to burn the edges and kind of make it easier, and a marker and some electrical tape. So the first thing you're going to want to do is you're going to want to measure how big you want your splice to be, or your eye rather. So let's say I was going to go to my deck cleat, okay, and I wanted to loop my lines, splice my lines right in there. So what I would do is measure how big I want the loop to be, and then I'm going to kind of make a mark right where I want that loop to be. The other thing you want to keep in mind is you want at least 6 of these lines here past where you're going to have your splice start. So what I like to do is count 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and sometimes I'll do 2 more if you're worried about you know, how long because the line does get thicker as you splice the other line into it. So if you're worried about, you know, how long that thicker part's going to be, you know, you can do 6. So we'll go 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and then you hold that in your hand, or you can mark that with your marker, and then you see how big you want your loop to be. So if I want my loop to be this big, I would make a mark there. If I want my loop to be this big, I'd make the mark there. So let's go with about this size right here. So I have my mark where I have my 6 lines, and I'll make my mark where I want my loop. So that's where I'm going to start my splicing. All right, so now I have my 2 marks made. So the next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to undo. So I had this one I already cut. I electrical taped it, and I used the heat knife, so I burned the edge here. But I'm going to undo my strands now. It also helps to have a knife if you have the burnt ends, so you can cut and open the strands up. The burnt ends help because then the line won't fray. And it just makes it a little bit tighter and easier to splice. So we got 1 open, we got 2, and then here's the 3rd. Another thing you can do if you don't have the heat knife, which I'll show you here, is you can tape these ends so that they don't fray as well. So this wasn't too good of a job here, but so another thing you can do is you can tape these ends, and I like to make sure you're twisting the tape with the braid. You got 1 right there. I go the other way. This just helps to keep everything nice and neat when you're splicing. 2. And 3. So then you're going to open them up until the point where you marked off, and then kind of lay them like this. And then I like to take my electrical tape and tape right over those 3 strands. So now I have my 3 strands laid out, the ends are capped off, and I'm ready to start splicing. Okay, so next thing you do is you find your mark that you made where you wanted your line. There it is. So the next thing I'm going to do, I'm going to kind of lay these just like this. So this is where I'm going to start my splice, and you're going to start with this middle one. So what I like to do is open the line up right where I made that mark, and I take that middle strand and put it in that line. Now if you have a fid, which I do have, you can use that and it makes it a little easier, but I'll show you without the fid. So now I have that first line in. So now I use the middle one, so I have this one here and this one here. To do the next splice, I'm going to go over the one I just went through, and I'm going to open the line up. You can twist against the way the strands go, and I'm going to put this strand in there. So now I have the middle one in here and then that one there, and you can see how they start to unwind themselves, and you can twist them and pull as they're going through, kind of keep it nice and clean. Then this last one is going to go backwards. It's going to go over that second one we just did and then in through there. So it's going to go over the second one we just did. You're going to go backwards over the second one we just did, twist the line and back through. So if you did it right, and you can, like I said, twist with the way the line wants to twist and pull everything tight, and if you did it right, you'll have all the lines kind of pointing outward, and they'll all be on the same you know, they'll all be on the same part of the line. If one is down here, one's up here, then you know you did it wrong. So once you start your splice, now it's easy because you just follow your pattern. So this one's going to go over this one in here. Again, twist to keep it nice and tight. This one is going to go over this one. And this one is going to go over this one. Now this one looks a little weird. It's the third one because this one's coming through, but you just go over there and it's going to come out right there. So it's going to come over that line and come out through there. So again, I'm not using a fid, but if this was thicker line, the strands are much harder to deal with. So now I have my second layer done, and I still have my 3 strands all coming out on the same part of the line, so we're going to keep going. So over, under, twist, keep it nice and neat, over, under, keep it nice and neat, twist, and then over. It's going to come under this one. Keep it nice and neat. All right, so that's our splice there. And then if you want to finish it off, you can cut these ends and burn them, you know, make it look nice and streamlined. If it's going through a tight area, you don't want to get these caught. You can use the heat knife. Here, I'll show you with this one. So if I want to keep it nice and neat, I'll take my heat knife. Okay, got that end right there. You can do this side. Then the last one. And so now I have my splice done, the length that I wanted the line. You can peel this tape off when you're done. yeah, and then you have your splice there, your eye splice. You can make that smaller, right? Just change your marks. Remember to twist that line as you're doing it. Yeah, and that's how to do an eye splice on 3-strand line.